Okay, good.
But I'm going to do this whole intro thing, and even though it just told us we're live, we're just going to keep talking amongst ourselves.
You do you,
Just
buddy.
ignore these people over here. They're there. Oh, wait. Hey, guys. So far, we got our regulars. I don't know who got here first, Victor or Beetle. Beetle's a new watcher and has a lot of recommendations. So
Right
I
on.
recommended
Very
that
good.
they go back and watch some old shows and then come back with
Good idea.
recommendations. And Menagerie's here. I think that's it so far. Somebody's hiding on me. It's probably your wife, right? Is your wife watching again?
No, Jess is off doing spider stuff.
Okay, all right. You're married. Are you married or am I wrong?
We're not married. Nope.
Okay, your
Not
partner.
Yet.
Your domestic partner.
However, yeah.
And business
spend it how
partner.
you want. She's all those things. Yeah.
Whatever, man. Common law. Common law is the thing where you're at, isn't it?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So we had a rough week on the show as far as subscribers went. We lost a few. Ryan, you probably don't watch very often, but we had an episode where I really pushed the Patreon. Like that was kind of the point of the episode. Because I feel like if you're going to have a Patreon, if I do anything, I do it full blast. So this was my full blast Patreon episode. And I knew it bothers the people. Not as much as the penis episode bothered people, but you should go watch that one. It was a lot of fun. I went through
maybe I will.
I went through the top 10 weird animal penises. And my top 10. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. So
awesome.
Hopefully Wally's not tuned in. I don't want Wally's granddaughter to hear anything. So anyway, before we get totally started, speaking of Patreons, I just want to give shout outs to my peeps because we did get a new one. We got Carl Callwood just joined us. Miles has been here forever. Don Gallagher, Vico Bubbles, Wesley. I still don't know really who Wesley is. And Heather, who is a good friend now, an actual good friend. Which you'll find, in this hobby, in exotics and invertebrates especially, you meet a lot of great people.
Oh, yeah.
Hands down, just the best people.
Yeah.
But tonight, folks, if you've tuned in, we're going to talk about one of my personal nightmares, and that is communal spiders. So I'm excited. I'm excited to get into this and talk about it. And I think the last time you were on, we talked about it a little bit. We touched on it a little bit. Because you keep them. You keep at least one species, right?
Yeah, and I'll elaborate on it a little further, a little bit. Yeah, there's a catch with everything. There's a catch to all that. You know what I mean? So.
Well, and you're always doing different things. You're an innovator. So, and that's one of the reasons I want to have you back on too, because you shake things up in the hobby for sure. And so far, I'm behind all of that. So
good.
I haven't seen anything weird. I haven't seen anything weird or awkward that you're doing with the animals, or like, I bathe them in vinegar.
I wouldn't tell you if I did any of that, but we have a little bit of a different approach. But everything we do, we try to base, in natural history, and we try to be very careful. And everything we do, we really think about, you overthink everything, right? So
yes,
we're constantly thinking about our processes and like what we're saying, and why we're doing it, and we've done this for so long, both Jess and I. Everything we do, it's based in experience too. So there's a lot to it. So
now, when you do one of these, when you decide to innovate or try a new style of keeping or whatever you do in the hobby, like last time you were on, we talked about the shakeup of not just keeping tarantulas in a box and giving them some enrichment and giving them the ability, like heat and variable heat levels, so they can choose. And that kind of shook people up. I got some emails about that. Like, not anybody upset, just like, do you really buy into this? And I was like, 100%, yes. Like, not only do I trust you as an expert, but it makes so much sense to me. Like, it was like the light bulb went on, like, duh.
I remember you saying that.
But when you, so when you do something like this, when you decide to try to at least test out, like you said, you think about it carefully and do it yourself before you introduce it to the world in general. Do you have like a control group and like an experiment group? Or do you just go like, everyone's getting damp moss now, or everyone's getting heat lamps?
Yeah. Good question. So yeah, we do a little bit of that, obviously, but really everything that I've been saying I've just done it since day one, and then watched behavior. So what I always tell people to do is, like, everything I'm saying, you can prove to yourself at home if you just pay attention and watch the animals. The animals tell you everything you need to know, and obviously knowing their natural history and how they behave in nature helps you with that. But at the end of the day, the animals are going to tell you exactly what you need to know about their biology, their physiology, and like what you need to provide them with, right? So knowing a
Yeah.
little bit about, natural history and of course their physiology helps you with that. But everything we've done up until this point has just been like, Jess and I both have worked with herps for many years, and we've luckily been in like a professional setting where we've worked with people who are very skilled, and we've had like labs to back up a lot of this information that we're like on site at the zoological institutions. So like everything we're doing, it's like we don't really have to like test, we've just been exposed to it over the years. So it's
Okay. Yeah.
but to answer your question, yeah, I mean, of course we experiment, we try new things, and we're very attentive. We watch, and we put cameras on our animals, and we'll watch how they behave when we change certain stimuli. And these animals, tarantulas in particular, are super sensitive to their environment, and they're very in tune to these changes, and they respond almost immediately. So they tell you what you want to know really quick, if that answers your
And being
question.
used to like watching them and knowing their regular behavior, I'm sure
That's
you
it
could tell
too.
if they're just like,
Yeah.
no, I don't like this piece of wood, or it's a little
Yeah.
hot in here. It's a little hot in here, Ryan. Let's bring it down.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I guess
Good.
that's true. Yeah, for me, I guess because we've been exposed to it, to me, it's like, well, yeah, of course, but maybe to a newcomer or something. That's something we're currently struggling with, is how do we break it down so that it's easy to understand for like the day one hobbyist who's interested in spiders. We have to figure out how to
Yeah.
bring it down a little bit and sell it that way. So I guess that's a hurdle for us. Yeah.
And I almost asked you to do that tonight, to do like a
Sure.
basic, like, what do you think of if I'm going to start out with tarantulas? But
Hmm.
I think your page and your videos are for that. Like, I think that's where people should go to get that information, because you're doing them like not quite a series, but
Yeah,
I
we're
imagine there'll
working
be
on
some
it.
series stuff coming out soon.
Yeah, that takes a lot of work. Like we're very new to the whole YouTube and blogging and all of that, and I have a lot of respect for people who do that full time. Like the video editing, I'm sure like all of this is a lot of work.
I
Um,
edit nothing.
yeah,
This
okay,
is it,
which I
man.
like. I like that.
This is
Yeah,
it. This is the laziest format you could possibly get. Oh, this is for
dude.
Victor. Victor, we're back to
Cheers.
basics.
I'll do a cheers to that too.
Oh yeah, what do you got going on there, buddy?
Mm,
Oh, you were drinking last time. You got some
that's it. Same, just for you, buddy.
rum and
Cheers.
Coke, or rum and Dr.
Nope.
Pepper?
No, just rum. I have a
Just rum.
fancy rum. It's a Hawaiian rum. Yeah, I really am.
All right.
Just sip on it. Yep.
Sounds dope.
Yeah.
I don't really drink anymore, but I did a flambe for the
Good for
first
you.
time ever with bourbon. Um,
Yeah.
it just doesn't sit well with me. It's not really a thing.
I got
It
it.
just doesn't
Yeah.
sit well. It affects me now. It's weird.
I
Anyway,
understand. Yeah.
that's neither here nor there.
Sure.
So communal tarantulas. This
Yes.
is terrifying, because the thought of spiders, like, they're not large usually, right? The communal ones are not usually big. They're usually pretty small for tarantulas, right?
Sure.
A
Depends.
couple
Yeah, it
inches.
depends on the species. Yeah. Yeah.
So there are some big
So,
ones.
well, there's a few. Yeah. So in the hobby, I'll just off the top of my head, the common ones you would think of are the Poecilotheria species that people experiment with, which are fairly large animals for tarantulas. The Balfouri, the Socotra Island baboon, that's a larger animal. But then you get into the smaller ones like Neohalothele, which are the little, I don't know the common names, Trinidad olive.
Are those the ones
Um,
that are kind of green? Yeah, the olive.
yep, yep.
Yeah, yeah.
And then
That's
the
what
other one
I
would
think Rick
be,
has those.
yes, yep. So that's a smaller animal, and then the other one would be like Heterothele gabonensis from Africa. I
Okay.
think they're from Gabon. Yes, that's a smaller one, but there are larger ones for sure.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Awesome. Yeah. That I don't want to say awesome, because that, again, like, that's just a personal thing. Like spiders,
Yeah,
I wouldn't say I'm afraid of them, but I'm apprehensive. Like, it's
I am too.
definitely like an instinct thing. Like
Yep.
that old school caveman brain is like, whoa, watch out for
Yeah.
this.
Well, they're
And
fast. They're all. Yeah.
their bites are not pleasant. So
No, I've never been bit, but you just have to take one look at those fangs, and like the musculature attached to those fangs to know that. Yeah.
I got bit one time working at a pet store, and it was my fault the
Oh,
entire time. It was by a sun baboon. It was like a bright yellow baboon spider. It was
okay.
still young. It wasn't full grown or anything.
Mm-hmm.
But I was trying to show it to a customer, so I opened this little thing, and it was
Yeah.
hiding. And I'm like, let's see if we can get it to come out. And so,
There it is.
tell me what it. Tell me. I want to see your face when I say this. I blew on it,
Oh yeah.
and it came rocketing up the top and landed on another customer's shoe. It ran right up on his shoe, like where a shoe meets a sock.
Yep.
And so I said to the guy, he didn't know it was there, and I didn't want him to freak out. So
Right.
I said, "What's on the ceiling?" And he looked, and I jumped down and just grabbed it.
Slick.
Because it was like a $60 spider. I didn't want to get charged, and it bit
Sure.
the crap out of me, but I got him back. So yeah.
Okay.
So,
Wow.
yeah, they're not pleasant guys. It was like a double bee sting at that point, but I'm sure if he was full
Yeah.
grown, it would have
That'd
been
been nice.
kind of gnarly.
Yeah.
But to imagine like a dozen of those, not really communal. They're not like a hive mind, but they kind of work together, right? They're like a buddy system.
Yeah. So I'll elaborate on that a little further.
Yeah, by all means. I don't know anything.
Yeah. So the whole idea of communal in captivity is different than what would occur in nature, and it's going to depend on the species. It's going to depend on the geographical range, and I think what we consider communal in the hobby is like we're capitalizing on like this opportunistic situation where the animals like adapt and survive, and so there is some communication with one another. Like they certainly do communicate. You can watch the Belfry, the Socotra Island baboon. They'll communicate with one another with tapping and like touching and all of that. But in nature, like it's very different. It's a very different scenario. And a lot of these animals, like you'll see them in the same tree, but like they're not intersecting. Like where their actual burrows are, that's more secluded.
Okay.
Even though, so like you might interpret that as, oh, they're communal, but in no way, shape, or form are they really helping one another. Like, you know what I mean?
Okay.
Like they're just
inhabiting.
Just
they're more tolerant.
Exactly. They're opportunistically taking advantage of a structure that is in their native environment that suits their lifestyle, right? But in captivity, what we're doing is we're forcing them to tolerate one another, if that makes any sense. And we're just lucky enough that they will communicate and survive and kind of go their own ways within the box that you provide them with. So that's where like my view, we don't really push communals. And earlier you had said, you guys have a couple. We do allow some babies to stay with mom. Up until like, I've had them over a year with mom, but we've noticed that like, it alters behaviors for everyone involved. Mom doesn't behave naturally or normally, as we would say, like ignores breeding cycling, and all sorts of behaviors are altered when you keep them together versus singly, which makes sense, right? Because everything's different. You have to now work together or compete with either your offspring or your buddy, so you're altering behaviors for sure. So yeah, we don't, I mean, it's not something we don't say no, don't do it, but we don't push it because we're subjecting them to something different, you know what I mean? And
your whole mantra is like being as natural as possible and replicating like what they would have in nature. So in nature they wouldn't be the colonies that I saw in person looked almost like a spider web honeycomb. Like there were tunnels intermingling and all over the place. And I didn't see a single spider in any of the 3 times that I went, but I wanted, I was like, oh, I wish I could get a camera in there. And see what it looks like how twisted it is, and
and so like. Let me say too, like a lot of people keep the Belfry or the little NCI, the little gold ones. They keep them successfully, and clearly, like you had mentioned, the animals form these elaborate tunnel systems, and like where they go, I'm not really sure. Like, do they all go to one, or they kind of go off?
Or they all have their own little pocket? That's what I imagined.
Yeah, which to me makes a lot more sense, and I think is, you know, what we would see in nature. In fact, in the 1800s, when that species that we're talking about, we're going to talk about the little olive one for a minute. When that one was like the initial literature in the 1800s, they were like, yeah, I found a big one and a small one, and they were sharing a tunnel, or at least the tunnels were marginally close to one another. And then when I put them together in captivity, the big one ate the little one, like immediately. So it's like, you know, there's just a lot to it, you know, and that's in the initial literature from these animals in the 1800s. So
Okay.
it's just interesting. Yeah. So there's a lot to
1800s.
it. Yeah. It's like 1890.
I want to see those
1898, something
setups.
like
I
that.
just saw an old aquarium in the like an antique shop with the metal sides, and I was like, "Oh my god, it's probably
I love that,
80%
man.
lead." Like,
Yeah. Yeah. I love that though. There's something about it I think is so cool. I wouldn't use it,
yeah,
but I think it's cool. You know,
I
I
think it'd
love
make an
that.
awesome terrarium, but not
Yeah.
a fish tank, obviously.
Right.
Um,
Right.
so yeah, so I just think because then pulling them straight out of the wild like that and putting them into captivity stresses them out a lot.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
they're gonna
Yeah.
go for the like. This is my opinion. They're gonna go for, in my opinion, the more recognizable food source.
Yep.
Like they would recognize their sibling or whatever, their old neighbor, as a food source more than some white cricket they've never seen, or something
Yeah.
from Europe or America where they're being kept now. I would
Yes.
think so.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Yeah, I mean, and who knows? Like, I try to say this all the time. We think we have an understanding of like that balance in nature of what these animals are doing and how they're living their lives, but we really don't know. You know, like who knows what we're doing when we take them and put them in a box, you know, like what balance we're upsetting. So yeah, I mean, it makes sense to me, you know, and that's why I think a lot of times people who start communals have the most success with siblings. You take siblings from the same clutch, you transfer them together in the same cup, and then put them in a larger enclosure. And those animals are, you know, used to one another. They're, or in most cases, related to one another. And those people usually find the most success in raising those animals, what we call communally, you know. So
Yeah, they
yeah, there's
have.
something to it for sure.
And I have to say, I'm that guy. I'm predisposed to communal animals, so
Yep.
like I like it a lot. Like I would never consider putting Margot. Obviously, I have an Arizona Blonde as my one
Yep.
tarantula.
I remember that. Yeah.
And if
yeah.
you have advice for breaking a hunger strike, she's eaten one time since I've had her.
Totally
So
normal, man.
it
Yep.
drives me crazy because I
Yep.
give her food, and a couple hours later it's still there, and then I have to give it to the ants. So
are you feeding her
drives me
pre-killed
nuts.
or live? What are you feeding her?
Live,
Live,
yeah.
live things.
So
Yeah.
would you feed her killed on tongs or something?
No, we never do any of that. But that's not uncommon. Just to not eat for
Yeah, I know they can go a long
months on
time.
end. Yeah, especially those animals that are exposed to those seasonal cycles.
Yeah,
for sure. Yep.
and I always think she's hungry because I'm used to my cats, and so she's out right now looking at me
She's
like, "Hey,
right. I'm
what do you
starving.
got?" Yeah, and then I'll give
Yeah.
her something. And she's like, "I'm gonna be in my den. The hell with
Yeah.
this."
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes when our animals go on hunger straits, we'll offer like hornworms, you know, like live hornworms, live
Okay.
juicy, and that's worked for us. But again, sometimes, I mean, we've had animals go over a year without eating, and they're fine. They just don't feel like it.
Well, we'll figure it out. I'll try a hornworm.
Yeah.
I could try that tomorrow probably.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I wasn't prepared for how big those get if you don't feed them right away.
I know. It's absurd.
It was amazing. I was
I'm
like,
like,
"Oh God."
yeah, and then it's like, are you gonna bite me? Like, do they bite? I don't know. Like, they make me nervous. I don't know.
I don't think they bite, but they definitely have that horn, right?
Yeah, yeah. I don't know.
Anyway.
You know what it is though? They've got those little feet that grab.
Yes.
You know, so that freaks me out. You know, they kind of hold on like that.
I like that you're freaked out by bugs. Like your whole life is bugs, and they still freak you out. That makes
Oh
me
yeah,
feel really,
I know.
really good.
It blows people's mind, but I'm like, I just respect them, man. Like they're fast and they've got fangs, and you know. So anyway, they make me
respect.
nervous.
It's respect.
I'm fascinated by them, but yeah, they freak me out.
So I get the point of not keeping them then, I guess, communally. But I suppose if you had a big enough terrarium, like a nice, cool vivarium, it'd be cool to have a couple.
Yeah,
see them
I mean,
branch off in their own areas.
Yep, we're actually going to do it with the Gabonensis, the animals from Africa. Like we've got several siblings. And we're going to try something like that in a large aquarium with one of those like a buttress with lots of little intricate root systems, and we'll give them the heat and we'll give them all sorts of stuff, and just we want to see what happens for our own interest. Because I was in Honduras a while back, and I noticed that there were albopilosum, the curly hairs.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were inhabiting it was like a hacked off, it was like a buttress, but it had like all these little shoots, and it all went to a central like cavity in the middle, but each animal had its own little shoot. And like we would think, you know what I mean? Like, and it was up off the ground, and now the hobby would call that semi-arboreal. That's not what that is. They're inhabiting a buttress, you know, but yeah, they had their own, and you know, they'd all come out and present their legs and their own little like, I don't know what you would call that. It was like a, you know how you see palm trees sometimes, like the trunk has these little shoots that kind of come out like that. They kind of unfurl. Yeah, so something like that kind of led to a central cavity, and each one had their own little thing. And so I'm not saying it can't be done, because clearly
like a tarantula apartment complex.
It's totally exactly what it was. Yeah, and there was like maybe 15 of them, you know, and something that was maybe 3 feet wide. It was really cool. Yeah. But that just goes to show you they're opportunistically taking advantage of this structure in nature that, you know, suits their little need. You know, it's really cool.
Now I want to get a colony and 3D print little trailers, and make a little tarantula trailer park.
Heck yeah, man. I gotta ask you, are you tinkering with 3D printing? Is that your thing?
I have a resin printer, so I don't have anything that you would be able to print like for a terrarium or something. It's still
right.
I would worry that it's still a little toxic. So to have something to have total contact, but the FDM is the one that does like the bigger thing, the plastic.
Yep.
And that would be cool for a terrarium to do cool things. So I'm looking into that now, but I don't have one.
Okay.
But I am familiar with the processes.
Yeah, I'm fascinated with. I've been looking into it recently myself. I think I like what those things can do. It's really cool.
It's a lot cheaper than a lot of people think. So definitely look into it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
you can make them little hats. No.
Yep, hats, hides. I see people do it on Etsy, man. It's a freak show. There's all sorts of stuff on Etsy. Yeah, you can do anything.
Absolutely.
And a lot of those people use little 3D printed objects. I just think it's crazy. It's so cool.
Check out, if you haven't checked him out already, Jose Avila.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, he designs his own stuff. So maybe if you have a thing you want custom made, like talk to him, collaborate.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I need to reach out to people. I don't know. I just went down the rabbit hole recently. I love it.
I'm an idea guy. Call me. I'll hook you up.
I like that. Yeah, appreciate it.
I don't come up with my own ideas. I just make everyone else's ideas better. That's my whole thing.
Man, those people are important too, man. They're very valuable for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Thanks for telling me that. I'm going to tell my wife so she knows.
Tell her I said so.
I will. I said Ryan said so.
Yep.
So you're going to keep them. What is your setup going to look like? Do you have it planned out for these?
Yeah. So, yeah, and I'm waiting for someone to sell me Pachystoplma. I know there's some legality around those, but those bromeliad spiders from Brazil, I want to do the same thing with. But for the Gabonensis, we'll probably do something very tall as opposed to very wide, something that will accommodate that buttress. The problem with all of this is finding the right tree. You know what I mean? Like everything we use for our animals comes from outside. So, because nature is the best designer, it has the best ideas, right? You just have to go out and look, and we're always out in the woods anyway. So we're just waiting to find that one intricate something. But then, you know, obviously, like I said, we'll incorporate heat. We're a big fan of overhead heat lamps, which I know a lot of the tarantula hobbies not a fan of, but we think that is the best way to give them that thermal gradient. And then adding that height too helps, right? Because heat comes from above, comes from top down. So we'll do something. Yep. And then allowing them to travel up or down is the most natural way to provide them with that. So something tall. We have, like I said, we need that centerpiece. We need to find that very intricate centerpiece. Right now, our animals are probably only like that big. So
so it's no hurry.
No
You're not
hurry.
In a big hurry.
Nope. But we want to make sure that whatever we find has that little network of little places for them to go.
That would be so cool.
Oh, I can't wait. I'm super excited.
That would be so cool. Now to touch on something you just said about the heat lamp and people being against it, I'm gonna recap a little bit of our last episode and play devil's advocate. I call it dummy's advocate. I'll call it. But if they got a heat lamp, aren't they going to just cook up there?
There it is. Yeah. Yeah. So, see, here we go. I got to walk it back because I got to be careful with what I say. So the answer.
Sorry, I didn't mean to put you on the spot. I thought this was
I'm
easy
glad,
one.
because if you don't do it, someone else is going to do it.
Okay.
So yeah. So the animals are attracted to heat, but not in the negative sense to where they're not able to regulate their own body temperature. If they're attracted to the heat, that means their ambient temperatures are too low. Okay. So if they travel and they just sit there and bask for hours on end, day after night, then there's something wrong, right? There's something, because that's not a natural behavior. They don't do that in nature. Usually that means you have to increase your ambient temperature so the animals don't feel the need to sit there and bask all day. Now, if the animal sits there and then it dies or it cooks itself, like as people like to say, then you used an element that was way too hot for the size of enclosure that you gave the animal to work with, right? So it couldn't properly thermoregulate. And so what we like to do is we use little mini halogen bulbs, which produce a lot of focused heat. So it's like a straight beam, which is great for tight quarters because then it's a very narrow band of heat, right? And then we use dimmer switches so that decreases or increases the amount of heat that little bulb is producing in that little space. So,
and you're like kind of over the top with yours. I'm not like crapping on how you have it set up, but like yours is set up to dim and turn dark. It's not just like it's dark, it's light, it's dark.
Oh,
it's light.
No, so I mean it is, but we play with we have windows, and so we play with that natural, like it goes off and then we let the sun set. So like these animals do have that dawn and dusk. Yeah, it's not just like
it's not the lights just dimming.
Yeah, correct.
I
it's not that
last time. Okay,
no,
I misheard you last time.
But we do use a dimmer switch, which means we plug it into that and then we can adjust the output of the bulb. But no, it is on and off. We wait for a certain time of day to do that, so that the animals have a sunrise.
Sun can give them,
You got it,
Okay.
Which is very important. Yeah, well, I do want to say that's very important for these guys because a lot of these spiders are considered what we call crepuscular or active during the evening, like that time of dusk.
Like twilight and dawn, kind of.
Yep. That's that's a sensory cue or a trigger for these spiders to change their behavior. So we want to make sure we give them that. Lots of cool stuff happens at that time. And if you think about it too, you go outside, the stupid mosquitoes come out and they bite you, and different animals start coming out. Yeah, it's terrible. It's a nightmare. But for those animals, it's like that's time to be a spider. It's time to hunt. It's time to come out and drink, or it's cool enough to where I can come out of my hide, and all those things happen. So
I think it's so smart, and then they can still see and because they're visual. So cool. That's what I like about them too. Cool. I like those dawn and dusk animals. Because they know like that's when food is out. That's when there's dew, so you can have yourself that sip. And watching yours, like in that last video I saw of yours, it's been a while, but when they're just drinking off the side of the enclosure because you had just missed it or whatever, and they're just sitting there. You can see a little face like, oh, this is good water.
They love it, man. Yeah, that's when. You're right, though. That's like what they do. And even though they always have access to a water dish, there's something about that fine mist that's like it's a trigger for them to come out and just take advantage of it. They can't help themselves. So
yeah, they have to.
Yeah,
I think Marco's going at it right now. She just got misted because I was like, "You want something?"
Yeah.
So how many species are there that you know of that are communal?
Yeah, so that's definitely up for debate because I look at it as far as like the genus, right? So you have Poecilotheria, you have Heterothele, Neohalothele, and then Monocentropus. I'm sure there's more, but those are like the big ones that we kind of use in the hobby to do communals. And then within that, the Poecilotheria, there's several species in the genera that you could take advantage of that communal behavior with. And that species is great too, man, because like the females, at least in our experience, aren't always so quick to chomp on the males. Like they're a little more tolerant of being in proximity with one another. And I actually, we haven't released this yet, but since we're talking about it, Andrew Smith and his crew at Love Tarantulas. Are you familiar with Andrew Smith?
Yeah. I
Yep.
just saw his stuff today, actually. I just found him
Awesome.
today. So yeah. And I was a fan of his style, I guess I would
Yes.
say.
Yep. He's great. Him and his crew
Yeah.
are awesome. Yeah. So they're putting a new Post-Lotharia documentary out soon. I think they're still doing scripting for it. I'm not really sure. He had a like a fundraiser for it recently.
Okay.
But I bugged him. I told him, hey man, we're doing I love Metallica. It's my favorite species. I know you're covering them. I know you just went to India. I'm very interested to know, like, if you have the time. Like, I want to know everything. I'd settle for a picture. I would love to use a picture of yours. I'll watermark it. And we're talking about natural history, so this would be great for you, and we'll do some advertising for you. And he sent me a picture of a standalone tree in India with a little blue Metallica juvenile in it. And everything we know about that species, at least at this point, is like they're very particular to a specific tree. Like they really like a certain bark or a certain tree, you know.
Okay.
Where were we going with this? Oh, so like if they're all inhabiting that like very specific tree, like they're going to be concentrated to that one specific tree, right? You know, so
Okay.
I think that's how we need to go about looking at this communal aspect. Like in nature, there's lots of trees and there's lots of space, but because of the environment, they are more tolerant of one another because they're confined to this space, right? In nature, if that makes any sense. Like the Socotra Island, the blue baboon, it's very harsh. Like that island is nuts. It's like an alien wasteland. It's beautiful with those like dragon trees and stuff that kind of look like they're growing upside down, but it's very harsh. And so like these dens that they're found in are like upwards to 90 to 100 degrees, but like finding that shade is few and far between. So like that explains belphari, the ones that create like the little network of webbing. That explains why they're so tolerant of one another, because coming across those spaces in nature is tough. It's a tough place, so they have to be friends, you know, in order to get by.
Forced together. Yeah, they're forced into a community almost.
Yeah.
Crazy.
I don't know. We started talking. I don't know where we're going with that.
We were talking about how many.
That's it.
Like how many species, and then you went off on like the prettiest one. The only time I've seen those is on, oddly enough, Ants Canada.
Yeah. I'm familiar.
And he tried them for a while, and I thought his setup was too small, and I think I was right.
So
the mom murders them, I think.
Yeah, so let's talk about that too. Like, I'm not gonna call anyone out in particular, but a lot of these communal setups I see, it's like squishing them so tightly into a very small space. And then we'll make comments like, oh, one is very small, or a handful are actually very small, like half the size, or if not a quarter of the size of their siblings. And it's, you know,
that's like when danger.
Yeah, well, that's when I just say, hey, like, maybe that's, you know, think about what we're doing here. That's not right. You know, it's not that. I don't believe that would happen in nature. You know, I really don't. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah,
but,
I think the small ones would move on somewhere where they were getting more prey. It sounds like at the very least the big ones are bullying out the prey.
Out competing one another. Yeah.
So
I haven't experienced that. I've had the opposite experience, where the animals that I keep with mom actually grow quite a bit larger than the animals I isolate individually, which is very interesting. I really think I just throw so much food in there to prevent them from eating one another, that they just naturally grow faster. And usually they have access to like that fixed beam of heat, and heat is energy. So naturally, if you have access to that heat, you're going to grow faster. But that's just one of those interesting elements to communals, you know.
So one of the things you're saying that we just touched on is, in the communal, you definitely want to keep them well fed, so they're not tempted to eat each other.
Yeah, eat their friends. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
So they're not. Yeah, and
which they absolutely will do. So
that makes me question if they're just eating easier prey for the most part.
Yeah, like I think again, it's one of those things we don't really understand, because I think I mean, at the end of the day, they're predators, and their main drive is to survive, right? So
Yeah.
if they're gonna pick on whatever is weakest if they don't have a natural prey item, because like they'll share food. Almost all of the
Really?
oh yeah, even my Metallica that will share food. You know, they'll share food from mom. They'll share food with one another. They just kind of like bombard one another and all feed off the same prey item. Belfry will do that. I imagine all of the communal species will do that.
That was going to be kind of my next question. Like, do they feed on? If you give them a larger feeder, will they take it down together, or just like one takes it down and then they're like, "Oh, thanks, buddy."
Yep, there it is. So one will grab it, and then the rest kind of queue in. They're like, "Oh, hey, I want in on that too," and then they all just kind of like, you know,
I
that's
just see
exactly
one
what happens.
freeloader, one
Yep,
jerk freeloader spider in the corner, like, "Oh yeah,
yep.
no, Bill, I'll get the next one. I got the next one."
Exactly what happens. It's fun. They're funny, man. They're like, "Oh, I want in." So yeah, that's exactly what happens, which is
That would
cool.
be neat to see them up.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
wondering if my internet froze. I don't see the thing. Go ahead. Sorry.
no, it is interesting. It's very interesting to watch their behavior, and then when you watch it, you're like, "Oh, you guys are great. Like this is, you guys must do this in nature too." I don't know, but
Yeah,
it's
because I feel
awesome.
like our invertebrates aren't, as much as we change their environment and everything, they're still pretty hardwired to do certain
Yes,
things
they are.
and respond to certain stimuli. So
Yes.
I would imagine that definitely the behaviors they display here are in a box are the same ones, more or
Yeah.
less. That
You're right.
display.
I always say that just because you take them out of nature and put them in a box, it doesn't change 100 million years of evolution. Like they're still hardwired to survive, and in these specific ways that they've evolved to, which usually involves like environmental sensory cues. So
Yeah, and there's so many, especially doing this channel. I didn't realize how many different. Pretty much everything we keep is dependent on their environment for everything. It's everything.
Everything.
Yeah.
Which is, when you say it, it's like, yeah, duh, but I think something we've always tried to say is like, that needs to be the center, the forefront. Like that needs to be everyone's focus, is what happens in nature. You just have better success when you look at it that way. It kind of explains why they do what they do. But
absolutely.
Yeah. Communities are cool, man. I would love to speed up the process, but we got to find that perfect piece, if we're gonna do it. I got to do it right. We want those little Pachystopelma, the Vermilia dwelling spiders, because same thing. Like we would look at them as communal, but really they're just inhabiting a very large bromeliad. Because you'll find multiple animals in the same plant, but they're not intersecting one another. They're just inhabiting the same space, and so it doesn't make them. Yeah, that doesn't make them communal. They're just doing that thing where they take advantage of that structure they've evolved to live in. So,
yeah. That's like, I don't know. Do you have those? Well, I just murdered the bushes, but I had these bushes in the front, these hedges almost in front of my house, and we have those funnel web spiders.
Oh, there it is. Yeah,
are there, and they're totally, their webs are almost intertwined, but they're definitely not friends.
Right, you're right.
But they're definitely tolerant because they're inches away from their neighbor. Or you'll see in the corner by your door, you'll see one here and then one here and then one here. And it's just a high rise.
Yeah, they're stacked on top of each other. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So when I've observed them as the night comes down, and you see the ones closest to the light are the ones that are more successful or seem to be more successful.
Yeah. Oh, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Getting the most prey. Cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't call them communal, but I bet you could keep a bunch of those in a setup without too many problems.
We had a like I said, we get everything from outside, and we were growing a vivarium out for one of the Theraphosis species, one of the large ones, and it had what was that? What was that in there? It was a little nursery web spider? Yeah, so a nursery web spider was in a piece of wood that we baked, and it survived somehow. It was inside that wood, so I was like, all right. So we let him. He just put web all over the place. Like he webbed over all the begonia in there, all over the moss, all over everything. It was just his space, and we were like, he's kind of cool, So, but we noticed up in the corner, a little orb weaver got in there, and we're like, you got to watch it, bud. And just the other night, we saw Mr. Nursery Web Spider in the web of the orb weaver. He was
Oh,
toast.
the orb
So I
weaver
was like,
won.
got him. Yep. Can't beat that that evolutionary prowess there of the orb weaver with that net, man. Sticky. It
Unbelievable. That's a
was cool to
shame.
watch. It was a shame, but it was cool to watch.
Some of it,
So.
yeah, some of that nature stuff is like you're on the fence. You're like, is this? Nah, it's
I
awesome.
know. I
Nah,
know.
it's awesome.
I know that's what we do. Just kind of like, yeah, it's nature. It's awesome. It's cool. But yeah.
And we get to see it like firsthand, like right here.
Yep.
So
yeah, it's cool. It's a friendly reminder that nature doesn't care about your feelings.
or anyone else's really. No,
Yeah.
they don't.
You know,
Like it'll provide if you let it, but you
that's
got to
just it.
respect it too.
Yep. You got it.
So I watched too many of those dumb Survivor shows that
I used to, man. I used to be all about it. Yeah. I just lost time, but yeah, they're cool.
you got to watch. I keep telling my audience, you got to watch Alone. They have all the
yeah,
reruns
we just heard
on.
about that. Yeah.
All the reruns are on Hulu right now.
Okay, we have Hulu.
And yeah, you'll find in the beginning you're making fun of people. You're like, what an idiot. This guy sucks. And then like the last 4 guys, you're like, I don't know who to root for. So it's really fun. It's a fun show to watch. And the stuff they come up with or decide not to do.
Okay, interesting.
Makes me crazy.
I bet.
Yeah, it's like, why would you not build a shelter and just have a tent? It's 40 below.
I know that would be me. Yeah.
So
let's watch it.
Back to these guys. So
yeah,
like what would you say for the smaller guys? We were talking about the olives because I think that's the one that I've seen twice, and it looked like they might be the easier one or one of the easier ones to keep because they stay small.
Yep.
And they seem to tolerate pretty close quarters.
Yep.
So what would you say? Like, I don't even know how big a colony grows. Like, they grow from having their babies, right?
So, yeah, that's what I want to know. So I would like to talk to people who have reproduced these animals successfully in a communal setting and like what happens, because females will obviously eat males when it comes to breeding. And then like when it comes to breeding and you get the animals to that point, you've got pheromones in the air, behavior alters clearly for good reason.
Yeah.
So like what exactly happens? Because I know when our moms have babies, their behavior changes. They're savage. Like they're very protective of their brood, right?
So it's like, my mom. Oh, you're spiders.
Yeah,
you're spiders.
Yeah, the savage mamas. No, I get it. Yeah, maternal instinct kicks in, man. So I don't know. You know, like I would need to talk with people who have that experience because I don't see how that works. I don't see how it would work because I don't see all those different animals being complacent and minding like that space. Maybe they do. I don't know, but just seems like there'd be some casualties involved when it comes to pairing, which is another reason why like I try to steer away from communals because that affects that cycle for those animals. Like reproduction that's why they're here. You know, that's their sole purpose.
Yeah.
So I wonder how that affects them. I don't know enough because I don't have enough experience. I just know what our animals do when I leave their babies in, and they're nuts. Like there's absolutely no reception at all. So I don't know.
No, they're all about just eating each other and everything, right?
Yeah. Well, mamas just want to protect their babies. Yeah, even up to a year. You know, it's at least in our experience. I don't know if that changes in the presence of, you know, other animals, but I'm not sure. Maybe someone else can chime in or comment on this and kind of share their experience with that. But
yeah, Rick was here. Rick did a lot of research. Rick from Ophi Spider-Verse.
Yeah. I haven't talked to Rick in a minute, but yeah, I would like to know because I think he got his animals from us. I think he bought. I think those came from us. So I would love to know where they're at, like what stage they're in, and if he's seeing any breeding behavior, if he's had babies. I don't know.
The last time I saw them, I haven't been to Rick's in a while, but he's nearby. He's near me. So
okay.
The last time I saw them, they were in a setup. He had just upgraded them to like double the size. I don't remember what size tank.
He had them in like a hex or an octagon thing, right?
Yes,
like
he did. He did.
Okay, cool. That's cool.
That was like the second phase, I think, because they were just taking up more space than he thought.
Okay.
So,
interesting.
He moved them over, and it was bigger, but he said that they weren't really like arboreal. They just, like you're saying, they just kind of stacked. They were up there. So it was really cool to see. But again, like I didn't see them, but I don't know how much success he had with breeding or anything like that, or if they were even old enough to do it at that
Yeah.
point.
And not seeing them, I mean, during the day anyway, like is probably a good thing. I feel like, you know, a lot of folks, they take these photos of their large, elaborate, like communal setups, and you'll see spiders just kind of stacked all over one another. And I don't like, based on at least what we see with our animals, that's not
Yeah.
natural.
Okay.
They should be in their burrows, in their chambers, you know, retreated. And, you know, usually that behavior is ingrained because where these animals come from, it's very warm, very hot during the day, right? So they would retreat. And so I don't know if they're taking them at night or if that's just like what they do. They're just all over the place all the time, which makes me wonder, is it because they don't have anywhere to appropriately like retreat to, like because it's occupied by
Yeah.
someone who
What's
wants to eat your
causing this?
face? Yeah,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
yes, I don't know, you know. So too many questions for me. It hurts my head, but I'd love to know, you know, because you usually when you see that, you know, you see a lot of animals. So I think, in my opinion, it's a good thing that in a communal setup, if you don't see them, I think that's good because that means they all have somewhere to go, you know.
So you want to be on the lookout at those crepuscular times, like nighttime,
You got
dawn
it.
and dusk.
Yep.
Which
See
is
little
cool.
legs at the entrance of the burrow, which I think is natural for that little olive species. Yeah.
The toes, the
Yep.
little toes.
Yep.
I know there's a lady who I wish I had done the research and looked it up, but there's a video on YouTube that I saw of a lady who is she's a spiderologist.
Ah.
Arachnologist? What is
There it is. Yeah, I think
is
so.
that it?
Arachnologist. Yeah.
All right. It
You got,
sounds really weird. It does not roll off the tongue at all.
yeah, it doesn't.
But she has a pretty huge setup. I don't remember the size of it, but it was like you could lay down in it.
Wow.
And it was a communal tarantula species, and I want to say it was the little olives.
Okay.
But they were everywhere. It had to
Okay.
be a couple hundred spiders in here, and she said she's
Wow.
had them for years, and kind of
Wow.
just feeds them, and that's about it. So
Interesting.
yeah,
Wow.
so I don't know. They like you're saying, they kind of seemed not really on top of each other, but one would move on to another one almost, and there was no problem. They just
Right.
meet and stop,
Yep.
and then you'd see another one. They were like that, and then one moved off. So it didn't seem like there was any aggression. I didn't see any signs of aggression
Yeah.
between them
Which
at all. And
that makes sense to me too, right? Because like it wouldn't make sense for everyone in that setting to just start killing each other because like at that point it's a survival, right? Like okay, we're gonna work together here. We're gonna survive. We're gonna talk. We're gonna communicate how we know how to communicate. And yeah, I bet they probably share food when they can opportunistically. I bet there has to be a level of cannibalism in something that concentrated. But I have to talk to her.
Yeah.
I would love to talk to her. Actually, that would be pretty cool.
I'll just find the video, and then you can.
Yeah.
I'm sure you can find a way to get a hold of her.
Shoot me a message. Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, you know people in the community. I'm sure.
I'm not vocal enough. I got to reach out to people. I'm just so damn busy, man. I just like stay in my own little lane. I don't talk to anyone.
I think you need to, because I think it's a responsibility right now, because
I think
have
you're
these
right.
Innovative ways to do things that could literally change a hobby. And again, like that's why I reached out to you originally, is to help get the message out to my 12 viewers.
I'm glad you did, man. No, I love this. This is awesome. I'm glad you did.
Good.
And it's growing. It's great.
Yeah, and I love to see everybody come back and be like, your excitement is why I do it. It's why I do
awesome.
this.
You got to keep going, man.
So,
when we're both rich and famous, we'll look back on it. It'll be awesome.
Oh, it'll be great.
Like, remember those?
I can retire now.
Yeah, our humble beginnings.
Right, and look back. I have my 100th episode coming up, so I was looking back.
Oh, that's cool, man.
I did a look back through all the episodes to be like, what do I want to do for this? So it should be pretty cool. I'll send a link or something, but it should be fun.
Yeah,
we're gonna do
please
something fun.
Man.
I got a green screen. The whole deal is not up yet. I put it up. It just looks like my regular backdrop. I thought it'd be funny.
Yeah. All right. I like it.
That actually would be really funny. I might try to do that.
Yeah.
Like a photo of this right here.
Yes.
Me and everything behind me.
Yep. People are like, what is happening? Yeah.
Right?
Sounds cool.
Oh, Beetle Guy has it right. I do have 12 of the best viewers on YouTube. Absolutely. I have the best audience.
Yes.
100%. Yep. These people are great. Dr. Linda Rayner. Is that it, Menagerie? Is Dr. Rayer? Did you find it? I'm surprised Vic didn't find it.
Maybe. Do you know this Dr. Linda Rayer that they're talking about? Lady arachnologist? I'm asking Jess. Jess knows more than I do. Okay.
I think it's pronounced arachnologist.
Arachnologist. That's what I'll call her. She'll be like, who is this idiot?
He must be friends with that dickhead on ISO Buddies.
Yeah.
That guy's ignorant on purpose.
Dr. Linda. I'm just taking a note here. All right. I'll look it up. Cool.
I hope that's it. I hope that's the one that you're thinking of. Menagerie has not confirmed. She said damn Skippy, but I think that was to having the best viewers. And Green Jedi, it is not next week. It's in October. I will be super forward about that episode. So yeah, just be there because it's going to be fun. If everything goes the way I want it to, it'll be well worth viewing.
Right on.
Could you do a stream with Peter from Bugs in Cyberspace? Man, from your mouth to God's ears. I want to. I've had a couple people.
Remember. Yeah, that would be a good one. I actually learned a lot from him when we started down this whole mantis. I don't even know what you want to call it, but yeah, he
obsession.
I like
Everybody into mantises is obsessed with mantises. Are you a mantis guy now? Do you have mantises too now?
That's a Jess thing. Yeah, Jess has dove down that rabbit hole, and she shows me pictures every 30 seconds of different mantis species. I can't keep up, but yeah, she's into that.
Is she keeping them?
We've got a few. So we've got ghost mantises everywhere. Funny story. Before we moved, we had females just laying like what we thought were infertile ooths. So we just would take them out, like look at them under a microscope because we're learning. We learn why everything does what they do. And we're in the midst of like moving things out of our old house, and I look up on the ceiling, and it looks like there's just ants all over the ceiling, and I'm like, shit. Like there's ants everywhere. And Jessica's like, no, those are mantises. Like one of those old ooths that we pulled out and thought was infertile, just tossed to the side, hatched.
There's babies everywhere.
Mantises all over the ceiling. Yeah, that was fun. So, which we have all of those babies actually still. But we have ghosts, we have orchids, we have dragon mantises, we have boxer mantises. We've got
the boxers are so cool.
Their
little dance they do is so cool.
Yep.
Well, on that note, before we spoil all of that, you're gonna have to get me in touch with Jess because I have not been able to get someone on to talk about mantises.
Oh, Jess would love to come on and talk to you about mantises.
Is that true, Jess?
She's saying, is that true? She said yes, maybe.
She's very like.
She would do it for you. Yeah. She's so shy. I don't know why she's so shy. She knows more than I do. She'd be a much better guest.
She's super nice. I've seen her in the background of the last episode you were in. So
I know.
And I hear her talk from behind the camera in your videos. So she knows her stuff. You don't have to have your face on here, Jess. You could just be a picture.
You don't have to have your face. You can just have your picture and you can talk. She'll do it.
Yeah. If you're worried about, that fourth eye that you have,
she'll do it.
We don't judge.
I'll let her know. Yeah.
Don't tell her I said that. She can't hear me, right?
Yeah, she can't hear you. No.
Okay, good. Perfect.
Yeah. But yeah, anytime, man. We'll talk about mantises.
I know I'm getting so off the track here.
That's okay, man. Don't worry about it.
That's my show.
We're still having good conversation.
That's my show.
Yeah.
So then to remind everybody that hasn't seen, it's been a while since you've been on. So you've got some zoology credentials as well.
Yeah, so sort of. Jess is the real zoologist. She's actually got the piece of paper that says so. I did work for zoological institutions for a few years, but I don't have the piece of paper. I got lucky and kind of weaseled my way in just because I worked my ass off for little to no money for over a year. So actually no money. I worked for free, and they felt bad for me and gave me a job, and then I worked my way up from there. But yeah, we did work for zoos. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Excellent. And with your specialty was with arthropods as well, right? Or invertebrates.
Amphibians, actually.
Amphibians.
Yeah. Yep, that was the jam.
That's awesome. That's it. Yeah. Like you're all over the place. I love it.
Well, everything is connected, man. Like it's all one cohesive. I mean, it's nature. It's all. They all have kind of different, but I mean, they all behave. They're all ectotherms. And they all have their own little ectotherms. So, but yeah, the more the more you know, the more you understand, the more you're exposed to. It's just things that make a little more sense. Yeah.
Yeah, and you can see how everything ties together.
Exactly. Yeah, because there at the zoo, I didn't really get involved with mammals much, although I did work with lemurs for a little bit. Those are pretty cool. Lemurs and bats. if I had to pick mammals to work with, lemurs and bats are pretty awesome.
Bats are dope. Bats
yeah,
are dope. I've had some
super
hand-to-hand
cool.
encounters with
Have you really?
fruit bats, the large fruit bats.
Yep.
That they had. They're from Australia, I guess. They're at my local zoo.
Cool.
They used to have them free flying, and
yeah.
they stopped it because too many of them were hand raised and were like interacting with guests who did not want to interact with them.
Yep.
And you see me in there like this, like, come to me.
Yeah, land on me. I'll feed you. They are.
Exactly.
They're like little puppies, man. Yeah, they're so cool. Love them.
They are. They got good personality. One of my favorite mammals, for sure.
Same.
For sure. Trying to convince my 4-year-old she's not a fan yet.
Okay. She'll get there, though.
Yeah, I'm sure. She's going to get into it. That'll be our first episode. We'll make her touch a bat.
Perfect. Yeah. Well, yeah.
It's 1 minute of her touching a bat and 9 minutes of crying. So that's good. That's good copy.
I agree.
So if someone's starting out with a communal, if they come to you for advice with a communal, and they're hell-bent on it, so it sounds like you're not like, maybe don't do it.
No, I would never say that. Nope. So if
No?
they came to us and they want, no, I would never say don't do it. That's not really what we do. We just don't push it, And
okay.
Yeah. So if they come to us, which they do, and Belphari, people like the Monocentropus belphari, and we specifically sell 4 packs of siblings just for that purpose because we know people want that experience. Yeah, we know people like that, and so what we try to say is, there's no such thing as too small when it comes to an enclosure. It's just what you're comfortable with and how you furnish the enclosure for the animal is what matters. Oh, I'm sorry. Is that what? Did I say that wrong? Jess is correcting me. No such thing as too large.
You said no such thing as too small, and I was like,
there is.
This is different.
Nope,
this
I'm
is
sorry.
Different.
Yep. Caught me. Just caught
me.
You
are an innovator. You are an innovator, sir.
Yeah. Too large. Okay, too large. So that's what we say. We just say, keep them into something you're comfortable with now, but then think big, think bigger, give them their places to go. And we absolutely push it. And we always say Belphari is a good way to start. So yeah, that's what we'd recommend. Monocentropus belphari or the Socotra Island blue baboon, I think is what they're called. I don't know. So
okay, is that a metallic one?
Yeah, they're like they're funny. They're kind of like a creamy tan color with like blue femurs, I think. Yeah, that's a cool animal for sure, and they got a really cool habitat.
That verbiage transfers over to spiders, like femur.
Yeah. Yeah, tibia.
I had no idea. Femur, I had no idea that was like. I figured there'd be some other weird word for it, but I immediately knew what part of the leg you were talking about. So I'm glad that transfers.
Yep. Anatomy. But yeah. So that's a good one. And then we, in our own experience, like I said, we do use the Poecilotheria as an example of like how these animals can tolerate one another. But it's not something that we like. We don't have like a big grand display yet. I mean, hopefully the Gabonensis works out, but we'll see. If we see any sign of like out competing or anything like that, we'll probably just scrap it and whatever. But we'll see.
Well, I know they'll be watched. I think if we take a little poll here, and if you're watching this later and leave a comment, maybe we could transfer some information to Ryan. Sure. I think if you had a webcam on them, it just was on them, static cam, like 24/7, people would tune into that. I think
that's actually a really good idea. Actually,
I don't know how you would do that, but that would be really cool.
We have those little Wise cams, like night vision cams. I don't know how you do the 24/7 thing. Jess will know. Jess has all the answers. I don't know, but you're right. That would be cool. Kind of a little link they can click on, gives you the, like live access, live feed. That'd be kind of sweet.
We have here in Illinois, we have a live feed that they do every year of a bald eagle nest. It's the same nest every year.
Okay, so
and there's
same idea.
Like 3 cameras, I think. So you get to watch the chicks grow. And last year they had 3, which was amazing. Usually they have 2, but they had 3, and they lived. All made it to adulthood. So,
like, how does that work? Do they put the cameras up there prior to the animal making a nest, or do they do it afterwards? Like,
the nest was there, and I think they go up before they watch them build the nest. This is my assumption. They watch them build the nest, and then they go up and put the cameras up. I'm assuming this from watching like Blue Planet and Planet Earth and the making of. That was the best part of the whole series was the making of.
Yeah,
but they would put the cameras up after they chose their nest site, and then just leave them alone. Like they would try to do it while they were out hunting or whatever,
Okay.
and then
Gotta be quick,
leave them
man.
alone. Yeah.
Yeah.
And get them
Okay.
acclimated to them, and that they're not a threat. But it took forever. But
Right.
that's what I would assume. Bald eagles are pretty smart, so I think they'd
Yeah.
learn right away that these people aren't really a problem.
Yeah.
But it's so cool. It's so cool. You just tune in and you're like, oh, most times they're just sleeping in the nest or whatever. But you'll see
Right.
like a feeding, or the times when mom comes in with a live fish or mostly live fish for them to just go to town on.
Yeah.
Instead of
Man,
the
that's
gork.
cool.
Yeah.
Right.
But if I knew there was a channel out there where I could watch, I was trying to talk to somebody else about this with like millipedes or isopods even, or an ant farm.
Sure.
Like
Yeah.
I would tune into that.
Yeah.
You could have sponsors somehow. You could monetize it somehow. I don't know how that part of it works.
You should do it. Get yourself a little isopod thing. You should do it.
Think about it. I'll think about it.
Yeah, man. That would be really cool. And for your kid. You know, I don't know. I don't know what kids
I'll just
like.
film
but
my
yeah.
kid. Let's put a camera on my kid.
Yeah.
24/7.
Yeah.
You're
For
on
all
live stream.
you prospective parents, here's childrening. Here's what that's like. Yeah.
Oh, my kid's awesome. Everyone would be going to getting pregnant immediately after watching.
Oh boy.
her
Okay,
for like
maybe
3 hours.
All right,
Yeah,
maybe we won't
she's
do
that kid. She's
That's
that
cool.
kid. She's like anti-birth control. It's pretty hilarious.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we lucked out. So thank God.
Good for you, man.
So
That's awesome.
we lucked out. I know a lot of people say that about their kid, but it's true about my kid.
I believe you.
If you're watching this now, my kid's just better than yours. So it's
Yeah.
weird to say that out loud, but it's true.
I'd say it too.
She doesn't know her alphabet better than yours, probably, but
Nice. Smart kiddo.
No, she does not. No, she's anti-learning.
Okay. She's just
but
not
she's
interested in it yet.
No, which is frustrating for me because at her age, I
I'm
think I was
sure.
reading. So
Okay, gotcha.
it's frustrating.
I understand. Sort of.
Kind of, maybe.
Yeah.
It's just she's different. She's not me. I
Right.
can't put that on her.
Right.
I have 3 tenebra. What is this? I don't even know what this is. Are they even talking about spiders?
Mm.
Oh yeah, my kid tried to break my knee last night. She didn't know. She was playing. Is that even a spider? Zephobus morio?
I don't know. Zephobus morio.
Tenebrio meliter?
Mealworms? Superworms?
Oh, okay.
I don't
So
know.
they're talking feeders. These guys are off the rails more than I am. Yeah, my daughter tried to break my knee. She didn't, but it wasn't great. I'm the age that I can fall asleep on the couch now at like.
Nice.
So I was, and my leg was out, I guess, over onto the floor, and she jumped off our beanbag chair onto my extended leg. Yeah.
Oh, yikes!
Not a good way to wake up.
No.
So.
Yikes. Yeah. Okay. Parenting.
Yeah.
There it is, man.
Yeah, enjoy it. Just put them in a cage if you're gonna take a nap.
Yeah. Jeez. Oh my goodness. See. Yeah. That's why I'm not a parent yet.
With your communal tarantulas, just put her in there with the communal tarantulas, and
sure,
they'll learn quick not to do that stuff.
Yeah.
So, are any of these communal
man.
guys particularly aggressive, like old world style, or not really?
No, I wouldn't say. I mean, it's gonna depend on the individual, obviously. Like, yeah, I can't believe I'm saying it, but yeah, like these. I don't want to say the word personality, but it's going to come down to the individual animal, how they're going to behave. Like most of these animals are old world, with the exception of the little olive one. But yeah, like Balfouri, they're all old world animals. So, which we personally, I prefer. I like that. Their behavior to me makes a little more sense. And I really am not a fan of the urticating hares at all. And what you'll find with a lot of these old worlds is they just need somewhere to go. I say that a lot, but that's really what it all comes down to. Give them that depth of soil, give them that appropriate retreat, let them behave like they do naturally, and then their behavior changes immensely. Like when they know, like, you know, if you open the enclosure, top or bottom, wherever, they have somewhere to go, and then you don't get that like threat posture or that aggressive response. You know, like you might get it when it comes time to feeding, but that's not really aggression. That's just a feeding response. So With all of them, I think that's just the way it is. Now, that being said, I mean, we have a couple clowns that doesn't matter what you do, you look at them and they threat posture, you know, but that's like an exception. Like we have one that we'll post pictures of here pretty soon. She is so dramatic. I mean, just absolutely so dramatic. Little poker peas, one of those baboon species from Africa.
Okay.
She's just a drama queen. So like you're gonna have that, but I would say generally speaking, all these animals just want somewhere to go, and if you give them that aggression usually takes care of itself, because then they feel safe. They can run away from you, you know.
Yeah, they know they have a secure place to be.
Yep.
Where they're not going to be bothered.
Yep. You can't go digging them out. You know, that's where they can go. So that's what I always try to stress to new keepers as well, whether communal or not. All of them, just give them somewhere to go, and trying to, you know, and really I try to say avoid top opening, because you got to think about that too. When you open that, like air is going to come in, and like that's a very, to that animal, that's like, that could be predated upon. That's scary, you know. Like
they're predators are birds, right? They're main predators, so like it would swoop down.
Right, you're changing the atmosphere when you take up a top lid. Like air's going to come in, air's going to go out. That's very stressful. So try to avoid that. But yeah.
So you're like Exoterra setup that opens.
Yep.
Is the better idea.
Yeah, I mean, just generally speaking. Now we do have aquariums like top opening. But they're all very tall. They're all very tall, and the animals have lots of soil depth. So again, they can go down, you know, quite a ways. Yeah, and we have success doing that.
How deep are you talking?
Like a minimum 12 inches of soil. Yeah, 10 to 12 inches. Okay. 10 to 12 inches of soil. Yep. And they use it, man. They use all of it. It's really cool. So like, because all the aquariums, I don't really know like their size. I just know like they're like anywhere from 18 to like 30 inches tall, you know. Okay. So they're real tall, and they use it. They use all that stuff. It's really cool.
12 inches deep at least. Yep. Okay.
Yeah, 10
I've got some changing to do. I've got some changing around to do.
Yeah.
That seems to me that not being a keeper, my initial response is like, that's excessive, but obviously it's legitimate. I mean, I'm not arguing with you whatsoever. I'm just telling you, like, as a non-keeper, my brain immediately went like, that seems like a lot. But again, we're pushing away from the keep them in a box and on a shelf. Like, you want to give them what's as close to what they're going to be able to have in nature.
Well, you're right. And like I always tell you too, like we provide a lot of our heat from above. And when you have that depth, you're providing a true thermal gradient that's like true to what they're experiencing in the wild. So that's why you see like females in the wild will come up to the surface of their burrow and present their egg sacs or their abdomens, you know, to like warm them and then retreat. They've got all of that space where they have like 10 to 20 degree thermal gradients within that 12 inches of space. You know what I mean? So
that's fantastic. That's just fantastic.
So,
because that's so natural for them to be able to choose that, and I love the idea of the that you're totally away from the thinking that they'll cook themselves. Or I think that's the goofiest thing ever. Like, how would things survive in the wild if they stayed out till they died? Like,
exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you know, they're very in tune with their environments. Yeah, they know what to do. If you give them the parameters with what they need, they know exactly how to behave. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah. And I think that's true for every setup. Like, that transfers to every creature that we keep in a container, a contained space. Give them the ability to choose where
choice
they're going to be.
So important. Yeah, even isopods, give them that option to choose what, maybe, you know, thermal gradient or like the humidity gradient. You know, like let them. Everything's got to choose. Yeah, everything has to have the option because they have it in nature. Yeah. So. Yeah,
I have to say I don't have most of my isopods on a heat gradient. They don't really get a heat gradient. They get a I don't know. The only gradient I can imagine is a higher shelf. But
well, not all of them do, because a lot of these animals, remember, are from caves too. So you might get a little bit, you know, of a gradient from like day to night, which is what our animals experience. You know, maybe a 10-degree drop from day to night, but they're not on like an active, right? So they'll warm up during the day and then it cools down quite a bit chillier. And then like the animals from caves will put on like the floor of the basement, so they get an even wider like temperature range from day to night. You know.
That's a cool idea.
Yeah.
That's a cool idea.
Yeah, but and I think a lot of those animals do pretty well without any of that. It's just part. It's like embedded into like our whole setup, so they're just exposed to it, whether it's good or not. I don't know. It's just anecdotal, but
Yeah, I wasn't considering like changing my whole isopod setup to be like, oh, they need a little
yeah,
heat here and a little this there.
no,
I would worry I'd cook them or dry it out too fast.
right,
But
exactly, yeah.
to maybe do that with a couple species, like that 10-gallon tank here is Hoffman Segai,
Oh yeah,
and
okay.
they actually have a heat gradient, and they're pretty dry. They
Are
just
they?
have a dish of soil, the
Okay, yeah,
substrate in
interesting.
shout out Icepods Anonymous. Their substrate is in basically a big deli cup in there, and then the whole bottom is that excavator soil
Oh
mixed
yeah,
with
that's cool.
mixed with calcium clay, and I mixed a bunch of crushed leaves in there,
Nice,
and the front is a cavern made out of paper mache, actually.
nice. Okay,
So everything in there for them is hypothetically edible, and I sculpted Castle Grayskull on there. You
nice.
can't really see it. The whole background is a hand sculpted Castle
You
Grayskull.
have to send me a picture later. I'd like to see it. I'd like to see a clear picture. That'd be cool.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
proud of it. I'm proud of it. I want to redo
It
the
sounds
sides,
cool.
but I'm proud of it.
Yeah.
And they are breeding like crazy in there.
Are they
So
really?
I
Cool.
put 2 dozen to start, and then out of my colony, and now I've got like 60 in there probably.
Oh, nice.
It's hard to tell. They have a lot of space to hide. So
That's a larger isopod, right? They're quite a bit larger.
yeah, they are one of the
Okay.
biggest, if not the biggest, that's kept in the hobby right now.
Got it.
So they're a good, like this is an adult.
Oh, that's
here.
neat. Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
they're
Yeah, send me a
monsters.
picture, man. I want to see.
Okay,
That
cool.
sounds cool. Yeah.
And I love seeing yours. So, like I think we need more videos of your setup. Like
Yeah.
not your whole setup, but like a setup. Like focus on, hey, this is this.
Okay.
This is, I don't know any of the species. This is a
Yeah.
curly-haired gigolo spider.
Yeah.
Giglone, hey, it's Giglone spider.
Yes.
But to see like, okay, this is what we have for this.
Okay.
And this is what we have for that. I think that would be cool. That would be something I'd be down to watch.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the feedback, man, because I don't know. Yeah, I'm kind of disconnected. Jess has a better idea of like what to do, but that's a good idea. Yeah, focus on one thing and explain that. Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah.
I think or you just show off like this is what we have found. This needs and this. I don't know. Am I wrong, guys? You guys would watch that, right? Nobody's doing that. Nobody is doing just this one species focus video.
Yeah.
Especially not tarantulas. Part of that's because they're boring. But if you you get them feeding or at dusk, like you're talking about, that might be a little more interesting. And you're talking about editing.
Yeah, connected with a time lapse video. That's giving me an idea. That would be kind of cool. Like kind of like come in at a certain time and be like, here they are coming out like routinely, like at this time of the day, and here's why. That's a good idea. That's a really good idea.
And then because yours especially do some atypical. It's typical for the species, but atypical for the species in captivity.
Yeah. At least for what people are used to seeing, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of keepers get to see the behaviors that you see. And I think a lot of it is the husbandry. I think 90% of it is probably the husbandry.
I agree with you.
It's not necessarily the animal. Like some animals are going to be more active or less shy than others.
Sure. I think you're spot on. Yep.
Yeah. I don't think that. I think 90% of it is the husbandry. The other 10%, like they're spiders essentially. They're okay, but I don't think a lot of them have like a true personality. They just have proclivities. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and it's gonna change too. Like people want like we're all very rigid, right? Like we want like it's this. If it's not A, it's B or C. But like that changes from molt to molt too. Like the animal's behavior it's gonna be a completely different animal when it molts again. And like you'll see that when the animals are growing. Oh yeah, they start behaving differently. So it's just kind of a roll of the dice. Yeah, for sure, absolutely. So like what we always say, we always just end up going back to natural history. Just like, what do they have in nature? How do they behave? What are they interacting with? Give them that, and that's going to like determine a lot of how they behave. Yeah.
Heather's down for the exact content that I'm talking about.
Okay.
So maybe I need to do a time lapse on Margot here. She's super active. I will say, as far as the tarantula goes, I lucked out because Margot is out all the time. I
Cool.
leave her alone. I want to have like a relationship with her, but
Yeah.
it's
But
not
in a way
great
you
for her.
do. Yeah.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
have enough. I have enough.
Yeah.
Um, and she, she's not a fan of mine, but she tolerates me watching her. Yeah,
It
like she's
sounds like
walking
it.
around right now, so she's just
Hmm.
all over the place right now.
Yeah, it sounds
Um,
like it. Yeah.
because I think they are fascinating. I will say they're fascinating, but I will say also that if you don't have a tarantula, in my experience, just watching other people and hearing from other keepers and my own, um,
Hmm.
they're a little bit along the same lines as isopods, where you have a box of dirt 90% of the time.
Yeah, and we
So
really, yeah, and when I got into the hobby, that's what I saw a lot of, and then I'm like, actually, there's a lot more to it if you treat them like an elaborate like fish tank or like poison dart frogs. Like you bring out a lot of the cool behaviors and like their habitat. Like I work with frogs.
yeah,
Like a lot of them are inhabiting the same habitat, the same tree, even as some of the tree frogs that like you would see in captivity that have beautiful elaborate setups. And so it's like there's more. I want to get away from the shoebox bone dry water dish approach. Not I think we're really doing the animals and our as keepers like ourselves a disservice by keeping them that way. And because like
yeah,
if you just
yeah.
have one really cool aquarium with lots of dirt and like all these beautiful plants, and I know it's not for everyone, but I'm just saying like it could be. There's more to them. Let's make them more exciting. Let's give them these gradients and like watch them behave. Like I think a lot of people would be surprised how active they are.
Yeah, and I think it is like you said, like an aquarium, and that really hit me. So I think it's a lot like an aquarium in the fact that you could use, like, you want a decent substrate, something that's going to retain some moisture, but
Yep.
at the same time, like, you don't need. I know you have all your setups have like a live plant and a real piece of driftwood and
Yeah.
something else it's all live and essentially bioactive.
Yep.
You could get away with fake stuff like in your aquariums, and I
Yeah.
think they'd be fine, as
Yep.
long as you gear it toward them so they're safe. But
Yes.
obviously, just like with aquariums, like if you do live and real wood and a real rock setup, it's going to
Yep.
look better and it's going to feel
Yep.
better for them too. But I don't think it's required. I don't think it's necessary. But I think having
No.
that level of decoration
Yep.
is cool on any level that you can get it on.
Well, it's just another layer or level to husbandry. It's like like a whole new aspect of keeping, like intricate. You know what I mean? Because like nature's intricate. So like to me, it just makes the most sense the way my brain works. It's like let's make this box intricate. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and let's make it pretty. Like, why not? Because like these animals are from beautiful, exotic places. And like we're fortunate enough to be able to like recreate that. Like, yeah, and it's not necessary. Animals are gonna do fine without all that stuff, but it's just another layer.
Like
Another layer
it's
of husbandry.
that argument between thriving and surviving.
Yeah, that's
So,
exactly it.
and if
Yeah.
you're going to take responsibility, and the way I've always looked at it is, well, not always. When I was a little kid, I was like, oh, let's keep a snake in a shoebox, and then
Oh
you
yeah.
forget
Oh
it's
yeah.
there, and then it's a dead snake, and you're,
Yep.
oh, dang. I don't know how
Yeah.
many animals I killed that way as a kid,
Same.
just from ignorance. So I'm
Yep.
glad you say same, because
Oh
I
yeah.
feel guilty about it sometimes, but I feel like all of us did it.
Yep.
So,
Mm-hmm.
but now it's like it occurred to me, I think, in middle school, that you're God to these creatures. Like, you are
Yeah.
God. You are in charge of their water, their food, their bedtime, everything. You're in charge of everything for them.
Yep.
And it's up to you. So why not? Why wouldn't you?
I agree.
You're
Yeah.
taking
Like
on that responsibility by getting this animal in the first place. So why
yes.
not?
Which in and of itself is like it's a very selfish act, right? Like it's very selfish to like take these
Yeah.
wild animals and put them in a box for enjoyment. I mean, we do it. I do it. I love them. It's
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
connection. It's my connection to nature. But something I like to say is like owning these animals is not a right; it's a privilege. So it's like you said, it's a duty to. At least this is how I feel. Like you know what I mean. Provide them with all of those things. I'll meet those parameters.
I feel like a
So
lot of most of the keepers that I've had on and that I know are at that level now, and if they're
yeah.
not, they're not. Like, the animal can get by. Like, they're hardy. They
Mm-hmm.
survive. We were talking to
They
another
are.
Josh I have a lot of Joshes on the show. We were talking about Josh from Empire Exotics or Exotic
Yes.
Empire.
Yeah,
I
he's
always mess
in
it up.
Michigan too. Yep. Yeah, he's not far
I
from
didn't
me.
realize you were in Michigan. Where are you at?
Yeah, we're at mid Michigan area. Yep.
I'm going up to Grand Rapids on Saturday. So.
Oh, nice. What are you doing up
Yeah.
there?
Art Prize. Art Prize.
Oh,
is
you're gonna go
going
to
on.
Art Prize. Art Prize
Yeah.
is badass.
We went
Good
every
for you, man.
year, and then COVID hit, and we had a baby. So
Well,
yeah,
double whammy there. Yeah.
I'm hoping. Pray for me, you guys. I'm gonna be. My wife had a stroke a couple years ago, 3 years ago.
Oh no.
Sunday. So she's recovered mostly, but she can't walk like more than maybe a half an hour. So we're renting a wheelchair. So I'm gonna have her and my 4-year-old pushing them around. Most of the trip. So
good for you. That'll be fun. It'll be fun.
Let's hope I don't get crabby, guys. I'm a real dick when I'm crabby.
Me too, man. You got it. It'll be fun.
I believe in it. I believe in it.
Yeah. You got it.
If you can get to Grand Rapids during Art Prize, people do it. It's so fun.
Yeah, man. It is a very cool time. And you got all the local brews there if you like beer. If not,
yeah.
But there's good food there. Oh, yeah. All that good stuff there. It's great.
Two Beards Deli. Have you been to Two Beards Deli?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Dude, I'm going to go there every day. Every day.
Yes, you should. I recommend that.
Yeah. So that's the real trip. That's the real purpose of the trip for me. Is so because Sunday is my birthday, so we'll be there Sunday for sure.
Well, happy early birthday! Awesome.
So thanks, man. Thanks.
Yeah, of course.
Anyway, I don't know of any pet stores up there, but I haven't gone.
I don't know up there either. I'm be honest.
What was I talking about?
We were talking about you were talking to Josh from.
Yes, from Michigan.
From Michigan. Yep.
West of Detroit, I think.
Yep.
So I plan to go visit him. Yeah, he had invited us up to his facility, and I'm super excited.
Sweet.
To get chased by Cuban crocodiles.
Yeah, he's got all sorts of wild stuff. Yeah.
We were talking about crocodilians, and he said, he made a point to mention like crocodilians are very hardy. Yep. You can keep them alive in just about any conditions.
Yes.
But eventually, you're going to notice that they're not doing well, or you're not going to see behaviors that you would see on YouTube or somebody else tells a story about, or whatever. You're not going to see any of those behaviors. You're going to have like a piece of luggage that lays there and eats chicken thighs. So
exactly.
But yeah, he pushes for all of his animals and tries to keep them in his facility, even though they're just temporarily there, like very well set up to what they would have pretty close in nature.
Yeah, I haven't seen it myself, but I've heard he does a good job with his stuff, which is awesome. So.
Yeah, he talked a big game, and then he was all for people coming to visit. He's like, anybody could come out, like. So he must be doing what he's talking about. So
I agree. Yeah. Good for him.
That's all the proof I needed. But I still think I'm pretty sure most of the viewers that I have and most of the people that I've met in the hobby and had on the show are very big on husbandry and keeping the animals really close. And I still think we need to push that to people.
All day, every day. Yeah, it needs to be. I don't think it will ever. For as long as people are allowed to keep animals in captivity, I think it's always going to be something that everyone's going to have to push if you like be loud about it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't mean be obnoxious, but like, I don't really care a whole lot about a whole lot of different things in life, but I am very passionate about that because like we just talked about, like we are taking these wild animals and putting them in a box for enjoyment. So like, I think it's a big deal for sure.
Yeah, and observation. Like I like to observe their behaviors and see what changes it, or if they respond to different stimulus.
Exactly. Yeah, we're always learning from them, man. It's super cool.
It's so cool. Mm-hmm. And then to talk back to people that have had it, like, have you ever witnessed this, or have you seen this?
Right.
And I want to talk to you about a whole bunch of other stuff.
And we can do it. We can do another one too.
I didn't really know you did frogs. You'll be back on the show. You'll be back on the show.
Awesome.
I don't know
we can talk frogs. Yeah, we can talk frogs next time if you want. That'd be awesome.
Are you talking tree frogs? Or are you talking dart frogs? What are you talking?
Oh, buddy, you name it.
Yes.
You name it. Yeah, all of them. Yeah, I worked with a lot of different species in a lot of different settings. I even worked with them in a quarantine setting, like so just endangered animals, strictly there for reproduction for release into the wild. So I did a lot, dude. So
was that kind of for that fungus? Didn't we kind of touch on that before?
We did talk about chytrid. Yep. So animals
Okay.
that were specifically affected by chytrid and or habitat degradation. Like I did all that stuff. So
That's super cool.
yeah, we
That's
can
super.
talk about that later, man. That'd be cool.
All right, man. We'll do another one. But in the
Please.
meantime, I hope you guys learned something about communal tarantulas. We
Yeah, we
hit
kind
it.
of went all over the
We came
place.
back. We hit it. We came back.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if you have any more questions, reach out to Ryan. I'm going to put his
Sure.
link in the description. If you are interested at all in funding more stuff that we get to do cool videos to go visit people like Josh and Empire Exotics, or go on a field trip with Ryan in Michigan, or whatever, go to Utah. The Patreon will be there too. So
Rock
that's
on,
all I'll
man.
say there.
That's good
If
to
you're
know.
going to mention
I'm glad to
Patreon,
know.
embrace it. What's that?
Yeah.
What's good to know?
I didn't know you had a Patreon, so I would like to share that for you. That's awesome.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
I'll put it in there. It's just Patreon ISO Buddies, I think. I don't remember. I'll have the link in there.
Yeah, please do.
But we're going to be doing some on-sites. These guys said they wanted to see more on-site videos where we go to pet stores or breeders or whatever and film live there.
Okay.
Or even edit it. But and that, that takes a little money. So
yeah, you're right. It
a little help would help. I'm not getting monetized yet. Or share the videos far and wide and get some people in here so I can get monetized.
Yeah, man, give me a heads up. Let me know. I think that's awesome. I think that's super cool. So let me know.
I want to bring some info to some people, but as random as it gets. So tell Jess I'll be in touch.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Sure she knows.
She knows it's coming.
Okay, good.
Cool,
but
buddy.
Thanks so much, man. Have a great night.
Yeah, buddy. Thank you so much. It was
right.
nice to catch up, and we'll talk soon, okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right on.
Thanks, Ryan.
All right, thank you, buddy.
Bye.
See ya. Bye.
Guys, you know all the good stuff. That was Ryan. He is the best. I liked all his little subtle hints, like I want to get out of here. I never let guests go. I love them all so much. Vic had to go. Sorry, bud. All these guys. We do need to make a council of Josh's. So I think edibles are legal in Michigan. What else am I hearing? That was a couple times in a row. I'm pretty sure edibles are legal in Michigan. So Ryan's the best, man. I'll tell you. He is awesome. Love that guy for real. And I just had this weird thought that I've been saying his name wrong the whole time. And I hope to God that's not true. Who the hell is texting me? Oh, sorry, guys. Yeah, no, it's Ryan. Good. I've been messing up everybody's name lately. So next week I'm off. I'll be in Michigan. The week after that, I believe, is the 27th. And we have for you, who's on the 27th, we're going to have Tanner Stainbrook back on it. We're going to talk about something we haven't touched on in a while. So isopods. We're going to actually talk about isopods. So come back for the 27th. I can't think of a better person to talk about isopods with than Tanner. I mean, there's a million people. Don't take that disrespectful if you're into isopods. And I didn't mention you in that very second, but he is super qualified. The 4th is our 100th episode. October 4th is our 100th episode. Your daughter's birthday is the 27th. That's awesome. We'll give her a shout out on the show. So the 4th is the 100th episode. So sneak peek, guys. I'm trying to get on multiple guests so we can have like a one of those awesome episodes on our show where you do like a look back. So I'm trying to get multiple people on. I can support up to 6. So I'm trying to see who I can get on. And I've got some really fun people already signed up. We're still waiting to hear back from a couple. A couple of people couldn't do it. Like Drew Schulz couldn't do it. He's going to be out of town. Drew Schulz is the guy who owns the zoo that we have on. I'd like to go visit him too. Eventually, that might be something if this type of the video takes off. The Utah thing. What else? We're going to have Scott Ellicott's going to be part of it. A couple other people are going to be part of it. I forget who else couldn't make it. Pod Solo couldn't make it because of his work schedule is nights. Like he starts his day when we start our show. So I told him just take PTO, but not a priority for everyone, I guess. my show's not a priority. My daughter says you need to have Josh Frogs on. I've heard mixed things about Josh's frogs. So we are going to have a Josh that does frogs. Josh Ferris does frogs. We are going to have him on. And if she goes back to Kimberly something, it was like 2 months ago, we did an episode about frogs. And then like right after that, we had Josh Ferris on to talk about his business. I'm a brand ambassador for Jabberwork. He talked about frogs kind of at length. Ryan, if you look up Marshall Arachnids, he does do videos. They're usually kind of impromptu because he gets a burr in his bonnet about something like husbandry of tarantulas. Generally in the hobby, they are woefully underserved as far as that's concerned. So she's scandalized by my response. Look, I'm just telling you what I heard. I never dealt with Josh's frogs except at a show. And I thought at the show they weren't negotiating at all, and their prices were a little out of what I thought was acceptable. Yeah, so I that's my experience with them. That's my only experience. Everything they had looked great, but I haven't heard good things about them. And we watched the episode with Ben Quintanas. Apparently, the guy who does their isopods is a real turd. So to put it nicely, he's a real turd. Get out of here. I put up the canopy again, so the girls are up there. They're not getting out though so far, so I'm excited. Anyway, yeah, so that's the 4th, and then the 12th, the 11th. The 11th, we're gonna have Luke Gazellis on. Luke Gazellis is now working on his master's in zoology and works at Brookfield Zoo, which is right here. Luke and I are basically neighbors. He's going to talk with us about animal enrichment on a zoo level. And that's something very near and dear to my heart, even though I can never remember the word enrichment. So we're very excited. Don, if I could find his YouTube, I'll put it in the link as well. I'll put it in the description. Also, Don, did you get your blue wrench by your name? You should be a moderator now. So Don cried his way into moderating this channel. So no, Don's awesome. Don's a true Giglone. He's a true Giglone. So guys, yeah, next week I'll be off. So enjoy that break. I may try to post my first video with my daughter. I'll post links in the IsoBuddy Facebook channel for that. So you can subscribe there once I start that channel. I'm definitely going to start that whole thing in the works. But I would love to start that. I'm going to see if there's a butterfly garden in Michigan that we can visit. So maybe on the way up there. So I just don't want to let you guys go. I missed you all week. This shirt you can't have, but I am going to work with Jabberwork. I'm going to work with Josh over at Jabberworks and see if we can come up with an IsoBuddies t-shirt. If anybody's interested, that would also help support the channel because we would get a little kickback from that. So, and you would have something to have. So it would have our logo, the little IsoBuddy logo, and not Comic Sans on it. So, oh, Doug shows up now. Welcome to the show, Doug. Wow. Doug took Don's spot, I think, as the latest person ever. So, yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. You guys, we're going to try to do some on-sites. We're going to try to, I think it's a really good idea to do a live cam on something all the time. I think there'll be a really cool channel to watch. I would watch that. I would tune into that weekly, at least a couple times a week just to check in. I just don't know how that would work. So like the logistics of that. Yeah, Doug took the title. Don, you're not a crybaby. You walk up to rattlesnakes and shake their hands. So yeah, guys. If you know anybody that does, what was I looking for? Scorpions. I need a scorpion episode and I need a centipede episode. So I'm confronting my fears for October. October's Fear Month. So we're going to do that. So I would like to do centipedes close to Halloween because I'm seriously afraid of centipedes. So it is a fear. They skeeve me out. So if you know a centipede person that you think would like to come on the show, message me or Facebook me or whatever. So I will talk to you later. All right, guys. Love you guys. Seriously, best audience ever. Beetle guy wasn't wrong.